Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to start Inktober. So I am not technically going to do Inktober. I took a look at the list and found it very uninspiring. So I took a look at the list that I did last year and noticed that 9 of the prompts were the same as last year. So I just went out and did a search and found a different list that I really liked. And so this is a multimedia list, and I will probably just mostly stick to traditional drawing and coloring and whatnot. And I do have plans for a few squishies and some other things, which I'm not going to spoil. So you'll have to check it out if you're interested. We're just going to draw, have some fun, hear some stories, and yeah. The Legend of Stingy Jack. People have been making jack-o'-lanterns at Halloween for centuries. The version of the practice may have originated from an Irish legend, which first appeared in print in the 19th century, about a man nicknamed Stingy Jack. According to the story, Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him. True to his name, Stingy Jack didn't want to pay for his drink, so he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin that Jack could use to buy their drinks. Once the devil did so, Jack decided to keep the money and put it into his pocket next to a silver cross, which prevented the devil from changing back into his original form. Jack eventually freed the devil under the condition that he would not bother Jack for 1 year and that, should Jack die, he would not claim his soul. The next year, Jack again tricked the devil into climbing into a tree to pick a piece of fruit. While he was up in the tree, Jack carved the sign of a cross into the tree's bark so that the devil could not come down until the devil promised Jack not to bother him for 10 more years. Soon after, Jack died. As the legend goes, God would not allow such an unsavory figure into heaven. The devil, upset by the trick Jack had played on him, and keeping his word not to claim his soul, would not allow Jack into hell. He sent Jack off into the dark night with only a burning coal to light his way. Jack put the coal into a carved-out turnip and has been roaming the earth with it ever since. The Irish began to refer to this ghostly figure as Jack of the Lantern, and then simply Jack-o'-lantern. The Plague Doctor. The plague, or the Black Death, first struck Western Europe in 1348 and is believed to have wiped out around 50% of the world's population at the time. The disease itself made a number of comebacks over the years, most notably in the 1600s, with symptoms ranging from high fever, lumps around the armpits and legs, vomiting, and painful spasms. Death usually followed in 5 days. Medical practitioners at the time were wholly unprepared for such a virulent disease, and no contemporary treatments were effective against it. There was little resource but to hope you wouldn't be the next to be struck down. The title of plague doctor has existed since at least the early 14th century, but the outfit we know wasn't devised until around the 17th century. Charles Drawlloween, a French physician, came up with the design around 1630. He describes it as follows. The nose is a half a foot long, shaped like a beak, filled with perfume with only 2 holes, one on each side near the nostrils. But that can suffice to breathe and carry along with the air one breathes the impression of the herbs enclosed further along in the beak. Under the coat, we wear boots made in Moroccan leather, from the front of the breeches in smooth skin that are attached to said boots, and a short-sleeved blouse in smooth skin, the bottom of which is tucked into the breeches. The hat and gloves are also made of the same skin, with spectacles over the eyes. It should be noted that the way the outfit is typically depicted is a heavily stylized version. The doctor's main job was to investigate and determine if the patient was a victim of plague and if anything could be done for them. The stick they carried would be used to help diagnose the patient by examining them without having to actually touch the patient. Common treatments were bloodletting or placing frogs or leeches on the buboes in hopes of balancing the humors. It was also the job of the plague doctor to determine which houses and even which districts needed to be placed in quarantine to help stop the spread of the disease. Usually a crude X painted on the door let the populace know that everyone in the house may be infected and none should enter or leave. These doctors also did crude autopsies in hopes of diagnosis and kept records of infection. They were the first true municipal physicians. Cities would hire them and pay for their services, and so they worked on patients both poor and rich. Their services were free, though from time to time it wasn't unheard of for a doctor to sell a cure, which of course usually sped up the patient's death. As medicine progressed, the plague doctor became a thing of the past and was turned into the stuff of cartoons and nightmare fuel for small children. The famous beak became a popular mask used by many during Carnival, the festive parties leading up to Lent. It is not uncommon to see the plague doctor walking the streets of Venice amongst other partygoers on their way to masked balls. Morticia Addams is the brainchild of cartoonist Charles Addams, whose talent for creating ghoulish and darkly humorous characters led to the infamous Addams Family single-panel comics in The New Yorker during the late 1930s. As the characters gained more fame, it was decided that they would make a great sitcom, and that is how the 1960 series came to be. The series only lasted 2 seasons, but later gained a cult following with reruns as well as 2 90s movies. She had a signature style featuring a form-fitting black dress, long black tresses, and a decidedly pale face. She wasn't afraid to be affectionate with her husband Gomez by enticing him with the look, relishing in his peppered kisses on her arm or whispering sweet nothings in French. She is the voice of reason and the queen of zen, even when things get a little chaotic in her home. Her ability to find beauty in thunderstorms and other things normally perceived to be dark while exhibiting a relentless optimism about life is admirable and inspirational. She's valuable and interesting outside of her mom and wife roles and has imperfect moments that root her in reality. Her excellence is also exhibited via her unconventional yet supportive and smart parenting style. Yeah, she allows Wednesday and Pugsley to raise poisonous spiders and play with guillotines, but she also listens to them, values their feelings, and encourages their autonomy. She will quickly jump into action in their best interests, whether it involves hiring a psychologist or advocating for changes at their school. She was generally patient, kind, and respectful towards her children, and encouraged them to stay true to themselves, even when it goes against the grain. Morticia Addams expertly balances family and her unconventional personal interests, alongside a rosy general outlook on life. She has a partner who adores her and works with her in a partnership to solve problems and rear their children with a loving hand.